Hello and welcome to a Gwen commentary. Yes again, but I do have a rather funny experimental build to show you guys. We're going to try and speed into it a bit and explain a little bit of Gwen here and there because a lot of people seem to, or rather, a lot of you guys say that you don't quite get Gwen. And to be fair, who does? She's kind of complicated in a weird way because she's kind of simple, but that simplicity leads to complexity due to a lack of options in a way similar to someone like Tryndamere, which doesn't sound like the most skillful comparison, but let me just... It'll become clearer as we go along, and I don't really know what I'm talking about yet. So, we're playing against a Yasuo, and we're going to take a Doran's Shield first rather than Doran's Blade. I'd rather a sustain. If you lose a trade with Gwen as a pure melee, it can be really hard to come back without any kind of sustain. And falling behind on early trades isn't that uncommon. And with the playstyle we're using and the rune we're using, this just feels a little more appropriate anyway. We end up winning a bunch of trades, and this rune, Grasp of the Undying, does make winning those short trades really easy. Normally, Gwen likes to go for much longer trades to make use of that on hit. I eat QE right through the tornado, getting plenty of damage in, and really threatening this Yasuo quite a bit. So with her E, it's a very sudden dash and an auto reset, meaning that the auto can come out pretty quickly. And it gives extended range, and this allows you to quite easily snip at the enemy with your Grasp of the Undying off of your E. This is really good. It gets you the resets cooldown very easily. Allows you to poke and sustain at the same time as Gwen, as opposed to relying on longer trades, using something like Conqueror or Lethal Tempo, and I'm a big fan of it. I have been since her release. I started experimenting more with Lethal Tempo when that got reworked and stuff, but ended up going straight back to Grasp pretty soon, especially after Lethal Tempo itself got nerfed. So, very fun rune to use. You often see me building tanky like Frostfire ever since her release, and especially with this kind of build. But this time we'll be playing a little differently. We're going to go for an Amplifying Tome first, I think because I had a different build in mind, or rather I have a different first item rather than a mythic. Nash's do. I really like it. I also max E on Gwen, which is not what everyone does, not what everyone wants to do. But it's a lot of fun and does help with those long trades. And we're spamming the E anyway, so having a very low cooldown on it is quite nice. Yasuo trades into the bone plating and loses a lot of HP. Wondering when he was going to Q, but he seemed to want to do a flashy Q with his E, and it ends up not working at all. Gonna chase him, and then he's gonna spin through me, and auto attackers be like scared of bushes because you can't attack into them. It's very sad. So unfortunately, no kill here. But Yasuo very low. With the wave on my side, I can just go ahead and freeze it here. There's way more castles on that side. And force Yasuo to wait a bit. On the rest of our team, we can see Zeraf mid, who just died, Nocturne jungle, with a Rakan Jhin bot. The problem I often have with playing Gwen in general, be it top or jungle, is that she really lacks utility. Like absolutely, her 1cc is on her ultimate and it is a slow. Everything else she does is damage, and that damage is scaling HP damage. Her flat damage exists, but it's not exactly, to the level of Master Yi or Tryndamere or someone like that. So whilst she is exceptional at dueling, she's not as exceptional as some champions, and she isn't as amazing at killing squishies as some other champions as well. So it can end up in a weird kind of freaky middle ground which doesn't actually kill anyone nor be too useful. That's why I liked items like Frostfire to give a little bit of utility back, even things like Everfrost, and sometimes just pure damage. We've gone for a Tabbies here, or Steel Caps, Steel Plates, whatever they're called, and a Control Ward. Amplifying Tome does actually give you quite a bit of damage, because her Q doesn't seem like it scales that well. A lot of people say that Gwen has bad ratios. I find in practice so this just to be not true, even if I did believe it for a time. The ratios of her abilities combined with the ratio of her passive tends to actually make AP a decent investment, and it only gets better as enemies get tankier, but it's still good against squishies as well. However, an even better option against squishies for a Gwen, especially maxing E, or if you've taken Lethal Tempo or anything like that, is straight up AD, because you get a lot of attack speed. That AD actually makes for a very nice rounded out DPS, And though it isn't the most practical due to being reliant on being melee with no kind of inherent speed buffs, she only has her E to go off, which sounds like a lot, but there's plenty of situations where it's just not enough against some champions. Compared to someone like Master Yi, who has a gap closer and speed boost, Tryndamere, who has a slow as well as his spin dash. Gwen's chase isn't always that good, and her ult isn't always up because it's ultimate. It's got a long cooldown. What's this guy? Yasuo does funky dancing. We're just kind of hitting him with the grasp whenever possible, not taking too many risks. I probably could do a bit more, but at the same time, this was just a casual normal game, and I'm mostly here to show you the build, so let's speed through this laning phase a bit. Still trying to freeze it so Yasuo can't farm. You can see that we're almost 20 plus CS ahead. Nidalee throws a spear at absolutely nothing. I think she hit a minion. Kind of funny. But just trying to farm up towards our power spiky items. Nash's Tooth is fantastic. A lot of people would like to go Riftmaker first. I don't feel its power. I know it has more healing, but I think that just makes you more open to counterplay, which feels redundant because everyone builds Mortal Reminder or Executioner's Calling anyway. Don't take my logic as gospel. It's just some musings of a Season 2 Lunar way out of his depth. However, it would work really well, especially with the tabbies against the auto-attacking team here, the Yasuo Evolution. It gives you more effective HP in your heals. But I find that Gwen's in-built healing is fine enough, especially if you're taking something like Ravenous. I think if we hold this, we can see that we do indeed have Ravenous Hunter, and if you were taking Conqueror, you'd have even more. So I think the more you invest into that, the less you're kind of getting out of something like Omnivamp on Riftmaker. Still a good item. It's decent. I don't prefer it. There you go, 3 out of 4 purchases on our Nash's Tooth. Nice teleport effect, let Riot miss out once again, as always. And with the on-hit ratio of Gwenzy, on-hit ratio of her passive, it's going to go by 1% with Nash's Tooth, and the ratio added by Nash's Tooth, and the base damage, plus 100 AP. Nash's Tooth is just excellent for any kind of Gwen that is maxing E. Because I think, honestly, maxing Q just leads to more error. And error isn't always going to be your fault, which I think is what most people will just assume, just Q better done. But most champions do have dashes, move speed, ways of repositioning, ways of dodging, or just able to predict and outplay your Qs. So if you're being outplayed by Q, then that is more resources, skill points, things that you can't really get that easily, are just kind of being negated by fairly easy options for the enemy. For example, whilst you can argue that you can predict things, also, yeah, people died. Just came in for this. Trying to roam from top lane, because Yasuo is trying to do his best to roam right now, because I'm freezing it hard, he doesn't want to contest it, I guess. So I come mid and, yeah, stuff happens. Attempt to get some damage on this already. He's kind of big, beating our Seraph mid a bit. But we have a strong Jhin. We have a Kraken Slayer Nocturne as well, that's great. And, of course, I tangented away from what we were actually talking about. Something about Nash's Tooth on hit ratios. And it being absolutely brilliant. Anyway. Q-Max, yes. Let's say if Yasuo were to E through you at the moment you pressed Q, which he can do. He can react to it afterwards. You're going to miss probably at least half of the snips. And that all-important last Q snip, which does the most damage, if he just moves out of the way. I think just better timing on your Qs is going to make for a lot more damage, but in the meantime, whilst you're waiting on its cooldowns and stuff, and, you know, charging it up with passive, charging up with the 4 stacks, having that extra attack speed and on-hit damage on E, as well as a lower cooldown to actually chase people and therefore position for Q, I think it's a really neat idea. It's not like Aatrox right now, where kind of everything is in the queue, because Gwen's DPS is really good. Speaking of auto attacks and DPS, we get a little slow on the Aurelion to help secure it, and then we get the kill, and then we ult the wave. It's great. You can see that we've bought an Iron Spike Whip and a half-bound axe, and that makes Stridebreaker. Back when Stridebreaker was broken with its dash, I was buying it on Gwen because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I'm just going to walk up to Yasuo here to just break people's legs, but everyone was doing that, so it wasn't anything that out of the ordinary to build on Gwen. Now Stridebreaker is built by very few champions at all, if any. But it does provide decent HP, which is nice. attack speed, which is nice, and AD, which we've covered now, is actually quite decent on an Emax build if you're able to auto attack. And we still have Nash's Tooth, so it's not like our abilities are useless. It is just a kind of strange choice. You could alternatively argue for Everfrost having a very similar active but instead AP, but then it lacks the kind of ease of use of Stridebreaker's circular and more instant cast. It doesn't have the AD, which is arguably better against squishies, especially early on before people buy armor. It has a much longer cooldown, not that much longer compared to some things like Gale Force, but still, I believe it's a bit longer. I could be wrong. It doesn't have the move speed that Stridebreaker does. It doesn't have the attack speed that Stridebreaker does. So it's really much more geared for DPS, which is how I like to play Gwen anyway, as like some weird AP Master Yi looking thing. Stridebreaker has been purchased, and we're going to get Ruby Crystal to go towards some more tanky options. Likely Cosmic Drive, because Ability Haste on Gwen is really good. It also doubles up as a wave clear option, and the cooldown is just so low that you can absolutely use it. Okay. Top turret has been destroyed. Actually, both top turrets have been destroyed. We've almost doubled Yasuo's CS at this point. But now a party is happening bot lane. Our bot lane need help. So we come in with the Stridebreaker. We haven't actually used it yet. We're going to use it on Yasuo to keep him under the turret, which is a little bit overkill. Unfortunately, the fight doesn't go quite as we would like it. I actually miss my resets on E here, which is kind of sad. They get taken, so it's still on cooldown. But we can see the enemies kind of outnumber us here, but we're pretty strong, and we're willing to do it. I take an exhaust very early on, so we're wasting the entirety of Thresh's exhaust. Actually did nothing, but he's able to hook me here due to I kind of misused my W. Gonna go ahead, get the Stridebreaker and ult slows on Aurelion here. Get a nice Q during the stun, meaning it does not get cancelled on the Nidalee, and she's gonna die, and then we're gonna be able to DPS Thresh down as well. Using that AD, using that everything. And here's Lucian. He's very weak, and our W didn't go as planned. That's a stat check right there. Again, the AD. If Stridebreaker was not Stridebreaker, we would have done more damage with Q, right? If we bought AP. But those autos did a lot. Now, the 5th member of the enemy team, finally here. I realized I should have walked towards the tower to be safe, but for some reason, I felt safe in a bush. Common mistake. Morella Nomicon on the way of an Oblivion Orb at least, as we see not much healing on the enemy team, but the potential for healing at some point. Ravenous Hunters, Nidalee heal, Yasuo's eventual... Oh no, he has shield right now. Never mind. Totally legit then. Been barely escaping death, but still wanting to just skirt in there just for a little cheeky poke at risk of death. That's okay. Thresh is going to hook the Gwen W. Reading is hard, as we've all experienced on Master Duel. Maybe, if you've played that. I'm just kind of getting the most out of the ultimate there by attacking minions and throwing them out. Very fun. So essentially, this is a hybrid Gwen build that only uses one AD item, but a very useful, fairly decent synergy item. Someone like Gwen does actually struggle to chase, since you need to actually be on them to keep it going. The Stridebreaker can just help extend that a little bit by slowing the enemy, and provides decent stats as well. It's very nice. If you add things like Cosmic Drive, it gets even better. If you add things like... Oh, what can you add at that point? No idea. Cosmic Drive, basically. You could, in theory, buy Lich Bane as well, but in my experience, Lich Bane just has too high a cooldown for Gwen. I'd rather go Divine Sunblood. Haven't done that in a while. Interesting ultimates. As the enemy hard pushed the bot lane, 2 people pushed down the top lane, forcing the enemies to back. Some of them anyway, but this turret's going to go down. With 2 enemies to defend and back us off the inhibitor. 230 CS at 27 minutes, not too bad, not too amazing either. Can't always say that. And here is our Cosmic Drive before finishing Morellonomicon. Cosmic Drive provides ability haste, all important on Gwen. Very, very good for spamming out those Qs, staying on people with those Es. It's actually really good. Don't underestimate ability haste on Gwen. 200 health, not too shabby. 65 AP is alright as well, and 5% move speed is incredible. As well as getting that extra move speed on hitting people with attacks and spells. Plus 40 AP, that's always good. So, not only does it and Stridebreaker have decent stat lines, they also really help Gwen stick to people. And since she has built-in healing, built-in percentage HP damage, built-in and even some flat damage with the AD, plus the Nash's Tooth, plus the passive, plus the everything, it makes Gwen quite a formidable bruiser, chaser kind of character, and it's going to be really nice to catch people out of position here. Here is Aurelion Sol just swimming down the forest for fun. Yeah, I suppose split pushing. Enemy team here. Seraph is going to land some basketballs, doing quite nice, and then some RQs are going to RQs that are going to do a absolute ton of damage, even though we have the Stridebreaker. Use that extra on hit and attack speed to wave clear, to push, get this outer turret, inner turret even, before looking at the Nexus turret for Yasuo to push us off. Dragon coming up very soon. Could be an easy dragon for red team. And our stats are looking pretty good. Our Seraph is at 2-7, and our Jhin is also a bit negative, but yet not nearly as negative as Lucian. So things are looking fairly even. Aurelion Sol is their most deadly champion, which I'm sure some people are shrugging at that. I'm wondering who cares, it's just an Aurelion Sol. Waiting for the team to get here, just kind of forced to ultimate. Lock down Yasuo a little bit. Take this ultimate, gonna take a lot of damage. Doesn't matter if they're behind. Also take that Nidalee Spear while stunned. But as I am decently fed, I am worth quite a bit of HP. Took quite a bit of enemy resources, quite a lot of enemy resources rather, in order to kind of start winning this fight. But some nice plays by Thresh is going to secure a little bit of value back before, well, he didn't build AD and therefore Nocturne doesn't die. Wonderful. Overall a good result, even if could have been better. Oh. Now struggles. Yasuo coming in. Oh, that was actually 1 point. Normal speed. It seemed really fast. Going on to the squishy Nidalee, she does a lot of damage and she likes to stay back and throw out those Qs. Sorry, I am speaking weird today. I apologize. But it's all the more authentic when I mess up, I suppose. 8-2-6 right now. I don't think that this is a broken build. Okay. I don't think this is going to take the meta by storm, but I think it's pretty cool and worth messing around with at least. I'm definitely going to be trying it out some more in my future games, and it may become my go-to Gwen build if it continues to perform well. I've been performing kind of bad. I've got this thing that I'm calling the Gwen curse. I think I'm dying again. Maybe not. Them using up their CCs allowed us to get a nice little Rakan initiation on Thresh, so not worth it for Thresh. I'm actually not that squishy due to the items we bought, so pretty good. Yeah, I seem to be able to go very much positive KDA with Gwen, do what I think is good, but lose anyway due to, let's just say, the team not being good. Which sounds like a petty excuse, but sometimes, oh man, the things I've seen, terrible, terrible. And it seems to just happen most when playing Gwen. Though I definitely screw up as well, don't get me wrong. 35 minutes, very long game by modern season standards. Enemy team's going to get caught and killed again. Try and take our jungle before they take it, give it to the team. Thresh is here. I take an exhaust rather preemptively from Thresh here. And as we want to secure Hexdrake, we just push them away a bit. End up starting a fight on Rakan's lead. Take down the Thresh, which is, yes, anti-tank job. But some mispositioning from the enemy there is going to get them caught. As you can see, the Stridebreaker once again doing some work in keeping them down. Red buff would have done it as well. And a Q through the Zonias will take care of that. Fairly tanky Gwen can take a few hits for absolutely no reason. Since we have no minions, we actually cannot push this. Zeraf has gone back to take care of it, so I can go ahead, steal some enemy jungle, path to top lane, and now go back to buy nothing for full build. Bought an elixir of iron, making Gwen bigger. And we also have ourselves a... oh, teleport apparently. Again, no effects. 1v1ing the Yasuo once again. He's actually gotten fairly big since the beginning of the game, despite never killing me, and just absolutely stat check him. Even though our items aren't that high damage by typical standards. The Stridebreaker and the Nash's Tooth are the most aggressive items here, and they're doing pretty decently. Nomicon as well, giving the Grievous in that fight very useful. Gonna try and walk down to the Nexus in time for the family Foso, but Zeraf will get popped by a Nidalee Spear, and so we back off once again to steal jungle, at least what's left. Maybe think about things, but Jhin, he stays in, and he dies. Delaying our plays by just a bit longer. Enemies decide to call Baron with their 2 kills, but we were lying in wait this entire time. And onward we go. As kind of do or die. Enemies grouped up for those needles. Do plenty of damage. Enemy jungler is down, gonna do plenty more damage. Yasuo with the focus on the Gwen. Gonna hurt a lot. Gonna be able to do even more here, but take a crit and die. However, with the enemy jungler dead and the Baron mostly done, that's an easy Baron for us. And he's... oh. All these smiteless Barons are so scary. It's not good for my heart. But Akshan was an enemy, even though, you know, this game is not live. And with that, the Baron minions, the dead enemies, a Gwen in the graveyard, and a surrender vote as well for the double Nexus explosion potential. That unfortunately is not going to happen in this replay. It was a fun experimental Gwen build, perhaps with some exceptional circumstances in the top lane, but a fun game regardless. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll be testing this build out some more. If you have time in a normal game whilst you're playing Gwen, maybe you can try it out, but don't do it unless you probably have played Gwen before, at least, you know. Give your teammates that, at least. I don't want people coming my way, as usual. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, bye-bye.